Well, there's some big meetings at the United Nations. Donald Trump gave some remarks today. It was an incredible thing. Some workers at the United Nations building joked about turning off elevators and escalators right when Donald Trump got on them to make some political statement about underfunding. And wouldn't you know it, that actually happened. They turned off the escalator when Donald Trump was on it. I suppose that's not the same as turning off an elevator, which could kill a guy. But, the idea of causing physical annoyance, at least, and harm at most to conservatives by people who work in public institutions, that is part of the same leftist mentality as Antifa, and in extreme circumstances, assassination. I thought that was really gross. I'm not done going through Trump's speech. Again, they turned off his teleprompter too. And he started riffing, and Donald Trump doesn't need a teleprompter. He gives hour-long speeches all the time on the campaign trail. He just went into campaign mode. Some grown-up turned back on the teleprompter. But seriously, if you have an institution that turns off elevators and escalators and turns off teleprompters, it's actually a bit of a security threat when you're dealing with the most assassination-prone person in the world, namely a U.S. president. Super gross. I'll talk a little bit more tomorrow about Donald Trump if time warrants. But I want to talk about something that our Prime Minister said at the Council for Foreign Relations, which is sort of a globalist left-wing think tank, but it has a good reputation and they have a lot of good speakers. So Carney went there. And I want to play for you some clips from it. And I'll stop it once in a while. I'm not going to play the entire thing, and I'll give you some of my thoughts. So I want to show you Mark Carney on the world stage. Take a look.
What I propose to do in 10 minutes is just to say a few words about how a middle power like Canada can deal with the situation where the rules-based order is eroding, great power rivalries intensifying, and authoritarian models are hardening. I mean, that's a simplified version of what's going on.
A rules-based global system, that's not really how it works, because there's no global enforcer of rules. It is, as it has always been, the strong defeat the weak, which is why Israel has to be strong in the face of terrorists who would wipe it out and kill it. We don't like war, but war is what happens when politics fails. The rules don't mean much. As Stalin said about the Pope, how many divisions does he have? But rules-based international order is sort of a buzzword that people like Mark Carney and before him, others like Chrystia Freeland have used. But there were no rules that went along with his weird endorsement of a terror state to come out of the ashes of Gaza. So I think he only talks about the rules when they favor him. And when he talks about authoritarianism, he's the Prime Minister of Canada who, when the trucker convoy was operating in Ottawa, he wasn't Prime Minister then, obviously, but he took time out from his overseas work to write an op-ed in the Globe and Mail saying that Trudeau wasn't going hard enough and far enough. And it is reported that Mark Carney, because he knows banking and he was the former head of the Bank of Canada, that he was the one who proposed the idea of seizing and freezing bank accounts, which was the worst part of the lockdown. So it's a bit much for someone who wanted Trudeau to go harder against a peaceful protest to complain against authoritarianism. At least it looks that way to me. Here, let's listen to some more from Carney.
I'm going to give you a punchline, which is we think we can thrive, and I choose that word advisedly, thrive in this new non-system, or the system that's evolving, for three reasons. And the first is we have what the world wants. Take on the energy side, we are an energy superpower. That is going to become increasingly evident. 85% of our energy is clean. We're one of the world's largest LNG exporters, one of the largest reserves of oil and gas. We measure additions to our grid in 10 gigawatt chunks, to put it in perspective, and you will see that with time.
Hey, do you think that Canada is thriving? Do you know anyone in any industry who would use that word? Do you think we're an energy superpower? I think we could be, but I think after 10 years of the Liberals blocking every pipeline and driving out $100 billion worth of investment, I'm not sure if that's quite true. Mark Carney has been Prime Minister for more than 6 months now, and he now says he's going to have an approvals process for fast-tracking mega projects. He's listed a few of them, but not a single pipeline is on his list. Why would he tell the world that he's going to move forward on things like that when he doesn't? He says we're one of the most important countries in terms of mineral wealth, but a lot of those companies no longer operate in Canada. Mining companies based in Canada often operate in other parts of the world because they can't get permits in Canada. Here, take a look.
We are top 5 in 10 of the world's most important critical minerals. 40% of the world's listed mining companies are in Canada, to give a perspective there.
Yeah, I think Canada used to be big into mining, but that so-called ring of fire in Ontario, that's been dormant for decades. I mean, again, it's regulatory processes that have killed it. Now, Mark Carney, like all politicians, loves to use the words AI. He doesn't really know what it means. He just knows it makes him sound fresh. Take a listen.
We are a leading developer of AI, and our research universities are some of the biggest producers in volume of AI, computing, and quantum talent in the world. Unfortunately, most of them go to the United States. I understand you're changing your visa policy here, so.
Yeah, does anyone really believe that Canada is an AI superpower? I mean, do you believe that? I know there are some AI companies like chip makers like NVIDIA, and then there's a race between ChatGPT and Grok AI and XAI. And I mean, I barely understand what these things are, although I do use Grok AI, which is associated with Twitter. But none of them are Canadian. Does anyone actually think that just because Mark Carney says we're an AI superpower that we are? I just think that's sort of laughable. Here, listen a little more.
Now, the second reason why I'd say we have good prospects, not assured prospects, but good prospects, is we have values to which much of the world, not all of the world, much of the world still aspires. We're a pluralistic society that works. Our cities are amongst the most diverse in the world. Public square is loud, diverse, and free.
Are our cities working? I mean, Mark Carney goes in a limo with an entourage and the roads are swept free in front of him. But does he not see the homeless encampments along the side of the road? He has security around the clock, so he doesn't see the crime wave. But does he not know about it? Is he briefed on the world or just what his flacks want him to hear? There is loudness in the public square. He's right on that part. But it's also violent and bigoted and full of foreign extremists, including 700 agents of Iran. So yeah, we have a loud public square, and it's hounding Jews and sometimes even shooting up Jewish schools. And it's not free. He's making it less free. He supports online censorship. Why does Mark Carney say certain things in public when he's got an American audience that just aren't true? You know, most of his speech, and I went through it unfortunately, is just endless bureaucracy speak, a sort of fog of meaningless jargon. In Orwell's 1984, that was called duck speaking. Quack, 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 quack. And to call someone a duck speaker could be an insult or it could be praise. Oh, he's an excellent duck speaker. Mark Carney just quack, 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 quack. Listen to this carefully and you tell me, if you doubt me, you tell me what he actually means by what you're about to hear.
We, by the nature of our federation, we have to practice collaboration and partnership, and it's a country that is still committed to sustainability. And the third reason why I'm going to argue we can thrive in this time is we recognize what's going on. This is not a transition, this is a rupture. This is a sharp change in a short period of time, driven by a variety of factors. We have a determination to rise up and meet this. And I'm going to give you one last set of threes, and then we'll have our conversation. Our response to this is to build strength at home, to build resilience by diversifying abroad, and pursue a variable geography to defend our values and pursue our interests.
Tell me, no, you got to say, what does that mean? He uses words like rupture and values and pursue. Like, what is? Did you learn anything there? Like, that's sort of like mesmerizing, hypnotic word salad. I don't know, but I thought this guy was super smart. I think it's completely meaningless. It pretends to be deep. I don't know how this BS would have worked when he was the chair of Brookfield Asset Management. Was he different there, or were they all like this? I don't know. You watch some more.
So just on strength at home, I can understand if you were distracted by events down here and you haven't followed exactly everything we've been doing in the last 4 months. But while you were otherwise occupied, we've cut tax incomes and capital gains. We have removed all barriers to interprovincial trade.
Is that true? That they've removed all federal barriers to interprovincial trade? Is that true? Is that true for oil? Oil pipelines are a national project and they're under federal jurisdiction. There is no right for provinces or indigenous groups to veto them or to block them. Yet that remains the case in Canada. Why would Mark Carney say that he has removed all barriers to interprovincial trade, barriers that come from the federal government? Why would he say that if he is still blocking oil and gas pipelines? Why would he say that?
We have passed landmark legislation to fast track literally hundreds of billions of dollars of projects in energy, in AI, in critical minerals, in new trade corridors.
So when is that all going to happen? I mean, he's been prime minister for half a year now. Donald Trump has a furious pace. You could name 100 things he's done.
We are doubling our defense spending by 2030.
We're doubling our defense by 2030. No, I just don't think that's true. In fact, I checked. Now, it is true that Mark Carney is renaming a whole bunch of other spending as defense spending so he can claim to boost funding, but there's no actual new money or very little new money. It's like when he called every single bureaucrat working at the border agency, called them a border guard. So you could be a paper pusher in some office in Ottawa, and he suddenly called that a border guard to appease Trump on fentanyl and terrorism. I checked. Last year, Canada spent $41 billion on defense. And according to Mark Carney's plans, 5 years from now, that number will rise to $57 billion. So it is going up and slightly faster than inflation. So if he actually keeps his word, it's growing. But how's that doubling? Why would he say that if it's not true? Listen a little bit more and count how many times you hear the word AI.